Okay, that looks like that connected. And just one more thing and I'll be ready. Okay. So I'm excited that you are all here, and I want to especially thank all of you who have joined our new Women's Health and Holistic Wellness group on Facebook. We're so honored to have you join and appreciate your participation. So thanks for all your likes and comments and posts. And we want to keep the momentum going. So feel free to invite others who you feel would benefit from the information that we share on a daily basis. And for those of you who are just joining our monthly meetings for the first time, we do meet every first Saturday of the month to discuss different health topics pertaining to our holistic well-being. So today we're going to talk about mental health, but before we get started, we have been blessed to have a beautifully talented co-presenter with us today, Swia. Please introduce yourself.
Oh, hello, everyone. My name is Rachel, but for those of you who know me personally, I also go by the name of Swia, and I am a certified yoga instructor, and I will be giving you some tips on yoga and just kind of introducing you to the practice if you are not new to it. And thank you so much, Dr. Tahita, for having me.
You're welcome. So happy to work with you. So why don't we go ahead and get started? So we are springing into March and marching into spring with holistic well-being. And for holistic, for those of you who don't know, holistic simply means wholeness and wellness in every part of our being. So that's mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, socially, and financially. We remember the whole is always greater than its parts. So each part of our person, even down to a cellular level, needs to be in harmony and in balance with each other to be whole and healthy. So any one part that's out of balance can create instability to our overall well-being and can negatively impact our health. So for example, we could look physically good on the outside and have lots of friends socially. We could make good money financially, but deep down behind our smiles, our mental health may be a total wreck. We may be imbalanced and high stressed, anxious, depressed. And then over time, it's going to negatively impact our whole being. And lead to severe illness and disease. So for today and the month of March, we're going to focus on our mental health. Okay. All right, I'm going to see whether, okay, that works. So for our meeting objectives for today, our purpose is to discuss ways in which we can holistically manage our mental health and well-being by simply living a healthier lifestyle. So now I want everyone to know that our meetings, when we meet monthly, is just for informational purposes, just like when we share things on Facebook in our group. It's just for information sharing. It's not intended to diagnose or treat anyone's individual condition. So, but today we're just going to do a high-level overview on the major sources of mental disorders and review definitions and some statistics. And we're going to learn and understand the power of our thoughts, and then learn holistic techniques for restoring balance and self-healing. And you'll be able to assess your own mental health and determine, do you need help? Okay. So when we look at the major sources of mental disorder, there are 5 primary sources that impact mental disorder. So, but we're going to only focus on 3 out of the 5 today, because we're going to focus on the 3 that we have significant control over versus something like genetics, where you're born with some, mental disorders like schizophrenia or bipolar disorders, or, just disorders that come from aging, natural aging, and general medical conditions. So we're not going to talk about that, but we will talk about stress and how stress over time, if it's unmanaged, how that can impact your health, as well as substances like prescribed and unprescribed drugs, alcohol, medications, things like that. And we can talk about our physical and psychological health. If we're in abusive situations, those are things that we can control. We do have control over that, and we're going to talk about that as well. All right. So, what is mental illness defined? So according to the National Institute of Mental Health, any mental illness is simply defined by how much your symptoms are impacting your daily life. So are the emotions and feelings that you have, how much is it impairing what you do on a daily basis? Are you having trouble sleeping or getting out of the bed in the morning? Inability to concentrate at work. So it can range from having no impact on your daily life to having mild to moderate or severe impact. If it does have severe impact, then it's defined as severe mental illness, and that's where your functional impairment is really bad, and you can't it's when you have one or more major life activities that you can no longer perform or function. So those are basically two broad definitions for mental illness. So what are some statistics when we look at mental health? It's pretty much the same when we're talking about our communities. There's racial disparities in medical health as well as mental. So when you look at these statistics, only 53% of African Americans that were diagnosed with major depressive disorders received mental care, and that's back in 2011. So it was hard to get statistics that are more up to date, but we can pretty much say, estimate that number is the same or has grown. And as compared to 73% of white Americans who were diagnosed, they received treatment. So in the study conducted by the American Psychological Association in 2015, researchers also found that 83.6% of psychologists who are actively working are white. So even when we try to seek help, we're limited in the number of psychologists who look like us and who understand us and can help us better because they understand us better. Those resources are limited as well. So that can impact, why we don't get the help we need, and that we don't have the insurance like they have. Okay. So let's talk about the things that we can manage, and we're going to start with stress. So we experience stress as a part of our everyday lives, and basically anything could be a stressor. It could be extreme heat or cold, and those snowstorms, and having to people who were out of electricity for weeks, and they were exposed to extreme cold. That was a major stressor. It could be any disturbance. It could be environmental toxins or physical, psychological, or emotional trauma. It could be, divorce or tension at work, tension at home. So all of these are stressors. So it's really important that we don't allow these stressors to be unmanaged over a period of time, because if we're unmanaging them or not managing them as well as we could, it can impact our body and produce biological changes that are physical manifestations, is like weakening our immune system. So in these times of COVID-19, especially, we want to make sure that we are managing our stress so that our immune system is functioning as much as it can in a healthy way to protect us from COVID. It can also develop into ulcers and inflammation throughout the body, and high blood pressure and mental disorder if it goes unmanaged. So it's very important that we are doing everything within our power to manage stress in a healthy way. And when we think about the power of our thoughts, this slide is very important because when things happen to us on a daily basis, we're interpreting situations all the time. But I think it's really important to know that the situation, whatever it is always neutral until we actually interpret it. We can interpret it by how we think about it. So it's our thoughts about that situation that is even more important than the situation itself. So we can choose to see the positive in every seemingly negative situation, rather than even if it is negative, it's how we think about it that's going to control how we feel and what we do about it. So our thoughts are powerful, and we have to be mindful of even the things that we're thinking to ourselves versus saying out loud, because as you know, a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So we have to listen to what we're saying to ourselves and pay attention to our own thoughts. All right, so that comes from turning within, and and saying to ourselves, I'm being overly critical here. I'm my own words are hurting. I'm hurting my own feelings, and that's a simple mistake that we often make. So whatever negative things that we say or that we're thinking, it's more important to find what the positives is in that seemingly negative situation. So if we don't find the lesson, whatever the situation is, if we don't find the lesson in it and the blessing in it, then it's bound to repeat itself. So we have to train our minds to keep calm and stay positive, no matter whether there's utter chaos going on around us, which there is all the time. We have to learn how to turn within and be calm and stay positive. So we need to think before we act. So it's if we're living in the present moment, it's really important that before that behavior happens, that we have to first look at the situation and accept it before we act, because whatever the present moment contains, if we accept it as if we had even chosen it for ourselves and work with it and not against it, then the better that we're going to be able to manage and be at calm and come to a state of peace. Because when you think about fear and unease, anxiety, tension, stress, worry, all these are forms of fear. So, and what is fear? I'm sure we've all heard of fear being false evidence appearing real. So when we're fearful of what's going to happen, then we're putting too much attention on the future and not enough on the present. We should be still and be present, be calm, and then act. Now, if it's something that we have no control over, especially now, if it's something that you can control, then that's different. But if it's something in which many cases it's something that's out of our control, then we have to accept it, work with it, and not against it. And we can deal with that stress that way. The worst thing as a naturopathic doctor, the worst thing that I feel that people can do is to go and, choose unhealthy choices because they're there, because it's the easiest thing to do. So, this depiction is really spot on to me, because you see that there's nobody in the line to do the hard thing, which is lifestyle change, to uh, do the work that it takes to live a healthier lifestyle and avoid mental disorder and avoid physical disorder and everything else. So it's easy to go and, take some benzos once we get stressed out. It's easy for you to just go to the doctor and they'll usually prescribe it for you without any problem. So a lot of us are in that line for pills and surgery. And once we get in that line, we have to stay in that line because eventually we're addicted to it. And so we're just right back in that line. As soon as that prescription runs out, we're right back there. So, but the thing we have to be most careful of is opioids. All right, so let's just say you have had surgery and you're prescribed opioids. Because for severe pain. So because of its it's so highly addictive, um, normally nowadays, because of the epidemic, the opioid crisis in America, now more restrictions are being placed on opiates, where before you could just get it until you died from it. So now you have to sign off and that you understand what the impact of this highly addictive drug is, and that typically they don't prescribe it more than 7 to 14 days or so after surgery. So the thing is that that's how people get addicted. When you talk to a lot of people, they say, well, how did you get started? And they would say it was the surgery that I had, and then I couldn't get off of it. Okay, and then I went out in the street and I got it in the street when my doctor no longer prescribed it for me. Or I'd be done my 30 pills in a week, in less than a week, and I have to go out and buy it illegally now. All right. So as far as depression and things like that, there's so many alternatives that we have without taking these drugs. And so in my opinion, it should be the last resort. After you've tried everything else and really, really gave it your best shot, then that's when you would resort to this. But let's try the lifestyle change first. So that's the purpose of our meeting today. We're going to try the lifestyle changes first, okay? And we're not going to, same thing with alcohol and smoking and everything else, all right? Now, so that's substances. We talked about stress. We talked about substance abuse. Let's talk about abusive relationships now. Let's talk about letting go of those toxic people, toxic thoughts, toxic habits that we are just do, and things and people that we are with, maybe it's our spouse, that are just draining us every day, that literally are not serving our purpose, when our purpose to move closer to God within us, to evolve into the person that God designed for us to be, to be able to turn within and just evolve into who you're supposed to be and do what you're supposed to be doing. So if you've got toxic people and thoughts and habits that are not allowing you to do that, then you have to let go. Now, when you've been in a marriage situation, for example, and you have, a husband who maybe he is physically abusing you, or maybe he's not. Maybe the mental and the psychological abuse is so bad that it's worse than physical abuse in many cases. And that's impacting your ability to function and be who you, the queen, the goddess, who you are. So I think one thing that I know that works from personal experience is that a lot of times we have these fantasies in our heads that of the way we want things to be. And we may make up excuses. Well, I'm tolerating this, I'm allowing it to happen because I don't want anybody to know or to see that we're not the perfect marriage that you know that we would want it to be. So we may do it for the children, we may do it for several reasons, where we have trouble letting go. So my advice here would be to simply uh, get a book, a journal, and just look back on the last 6 months to a year and write down, start with the most recent event, and write it down. What happened? How did it make you feel? Was it was it just something psychological that was tearing you down, that it impacted you so much that you couldn't even sleep that night, that you cried yourself to sleep? Whatever it was, that if you write down the incident, try to remember what happened before, try to remember how you felt afterwards, and then put down whatever date you think that happened on. It may not be the exact date, maybe you can't remember because you blocked it out of your mind. So if you write down each time, and now once you got that on paper, now go to the next time. When was the time before that the same thing happened, or something close to that? Or maybe it got worse, so if you'll look and you'll be able to see a pattern of events. Just write them all down, and then you be the person, the objective person now, that's looking from the outside in at what you wrote, and be able to pick up patterns of behavior. And that will help you to see more clearly, okay? You yourself, enough to want to seek help, enough to want to come out of your closet of this little world that is not real, and that is killing you, and will eventually physically kill you if it doesn't um, kill you now. So um, that's all I want to say about that, and we'll talk about it loosely throughout as we talk about holistic ways of managing toxic relationships and thoughts and habits. If it's a habit that's no longer serving you, then just stop it. You have to, first of all, not deny that it's a habit that's not working for you anymore. You have to come to the realization that this isn't working, and I need to stop it right now. I need to replace it with something else. So that's what we're going to talk about now, and I'm going to turn it over to Swea, and we're going to talk about holistic techniques for restoring balance and self-healing. And if you're not on mute, please go on mute, and I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to allow Swea to take the mic. I can no longer see you. Let me put my screen out.
I'm here.
There you are. Okay. All right. So let's just go to the next slide.
Yeah, so let's talk about some stress reduction techniques. And the one we're going to focus on right now is yoga. And just to kind of not backtrack a little bit, but talking about the impacts that stress has on the body, I can just share a personal story, just kind of what led me to wanting to get into yoga. I was in a very toxic relationship, and not only a toxic relationship, but a very toxic working environment. I was a social worker working for the state of Massachusetts, um, in the child and family welfare system. And that was a very toxic job within itself. But what I didn't realize was how much that stress was impacting my body. And it wasn't until I went to a physical therapist, and she was just asking me to like do a couple of mobility exercises, and I was trying to lift my arms up in the air, and I literally could not lift my arms all the way up. And not only could I not move my body in a way that I felt like I should have been able to, but I had lost so much weight. And what she recommended, she was like, you know what, maybe you should try yoga. So I started doing yoga on my own, watching YouTube videos, and I started to see the difference that it had on my body. I was a lot calmer, more relaxed. I didn't feel as if I was as anxious as I was before. So from there, I knew I wanted to make it a lifestyle and not only be able to continue to do it for myself, but also share the practice with others. So just to introduce you to the practice, if you could go to the next slide. Um, so yoga is more than just moving your body. There are actually 8 limbs of yoga. I won't get into all of them today. We're really just going to really focus on the postures, the breath, and the meditation piece. But I'll just briefly go through the yamas, which are your social ethics. These are basically how you treat other people. So for the most part, I'm pretty sure everyone here already practices yoga without knowing that they're practicing yoga. So we have the yamas, which is being kind to others, being truthful, being, it says non-stealing, but basically not stealing, things that we already know, living a lifestyle of moderation and generosity. And then you have the niyamas, which focuses on how you are taking care of yourself. So cleanliness, being content, always considering yourself a student and being open to learning new things. And then we go into the asana, which are the postures, how you move your body. This is kind of what Western society has focused mostly on, is the body movement, which I'll show you some postures that help to induce relaxation. Then we have pranayama. This is the breath. So how we are intentionally breathing. I mean, we breathe naturally on our own. However, you can be very intentional about your breath as well. Then we have the pratyahara, which is when you turn inward. So this is a form of meditation where you just disconnect from what's going on outside of you and then focusing internally what's happening on the inside. Dharanya, which is the concentration. This is when you're intentionally focusing. So again, another form of meditation, but more so focusing on one particular thing. And then we have dhyana, which is just letting go of everything. And then samadhi, which is pure bliss. Some people say that you can't really attain that, but there are others that would argue that. So if you could go to the next slide. So these are some of the poses that I chose. I chose 6 poses to share with you all. So the first yoga pose is child's pose. And this is going to be a pose that has a very calming and soothing effect on the brain. As you can see, this woman is here on her mat. She has her knees on the mat and her arms are extended overhead. Her head is actually on the mat. And this is a pose that can be modified. So I wish I could show you, but I can kind of describe it. So if she were to walk her knees out to the sides of her mat, you can adjust this to make it so that it's more comfortable for you. It helps to release tension in the back and shoulders and the chest, and it also flexes and massages many of your internal organs. So this is a pose when you're here, you're actually signaling your body that I'm okay. Because this is not a way that your body would be if you were in like a flight or a fright. This is calming. It's telling the body it's okay. You can relax. You can stay in a pose like this for as long as you would like. As I say, with like all yoga poses, you have to do what feels best for you, and your body will tell you when it's time to come out of a pose. So the next one is recline bound angle. She is laying on her back. As you can see, she has a pillow or a bolster and some blocks underneath her thighs to support her. So you can always bring props to it. Yoga is not supposed to be something that hurts. Now, if you do a yoga practice that's really meant to strengthen and build the muscle, you might feel some soreness afterwards, but that's natural when you are working on your muscles to build strength. However, when you're doing relaxation poses, you should not be feeling any pain. So anytime you're in a pose and something is pinching or burning or it doesn't feel right, come out of that pose. But for this one is good to help relieve symptoms of stress, mild depression. It can also help when you're if you're on your menstrual cycle or experiencing menopause. It helps to stimulate the heart and improves their circulation, and it also induces good sleep. So this is one of those poses that would be great right before you go to bed. You could literally fall asleep in a pose like this. So maybe bring a blanket with you if you want to get into a pose like this. I'd love to use my blanket. So the next two poses, we have the happy baby, which I'm sure many of you may have seen before. She is laying on her back. Her knees are towards her chest and her feet are facing the ceiling, as if she could walk on the ceiling with her from this pose. So this is really good to lower the heart rate. It helps to improve with tiredness and fatigue. And this is also an instant mood booster. It is known to awaken the inner child, which is why it's called a happy baby. I'm pretty sure you've seen a baby in this pose. They have a huge smile on their face. So maybe give this one a try and see how you feel. The other one is legs up the wall. So she actually has her legs up against the wall. However, if you can't do that, that's fine. You can literally just put your legs up in the air in this pose. They don't have to be up against the wall. So this is great for muscle relaxation, and it actually helps to relieve tired legs and feet. So if you're on your feet all day, if you're walking around, this would be one of those poses that's excellent for just giving your legs and your feet a break. And it also helps to calm the nervous system. So our two final poses, we have the easy seat. This is, as you can see, cross-legged, but maybe you have a knee injury and you see your babies do that pose every day. Maybe you have a knee injury and you can't bend your knees. Not a problem. You can always extend the legs out in front of you. You can bring blocks to support up under the knees or pillows that would help. And this is a great pose for meditation. It helps to promote groundedness, and you find stillness and tranquility in this pose. And then last but not least, we have the Savasana, which is my favorite because you literally just lay there. And if you want, for some people, maybe you want to roll up a blanket or something to put right underneath your back, or use a blanket over your body. You can put a pillow under your head. You want to do whatever is going to bring comfort to you. And this is excellent because you are not using any parts of the body. So your body can truly go into full relaxation. So let's talk about starting a daily meditation practice. There are so many ways to meditate, but I wanted to focus on 4 because I thought that these were kind of easy to do. We have a mindfulness meditation, which is when you intentionally focus on the present moment with acceptance and non-judgment. So you go into a space, and sometimes people find it really difficult to meditate because we think meditation is supposed to be where you're there, you're focused on one thing, your eyes are closed, and you're just zoning out, which could be true. However, it doesn't have to be that way, right? Our mind wonders and it wanders, and sometimes we have to let it do both. So this is the one that I like to do because I kind of go everywhere in my mind and I don't judge myself for it. If a thought comes into my mind and I'm like, what was that about? Process it and let it go. The other one is a guided meditation, which I also love. You can find a lot of videos on YouTube that have guided meditations. I'll just search like whatever it is I'm going through. If I'm going through something, if I'm experiencing anxiety, or if I want to just find a meditation to help me calm down or whatever, just type it in, and YouTube is really good about that. So this is just going to be the meditation that's led by someone else, and they'll provide you with prompts on maybe a thought. Maybe they'll introduce some imagery. Maybe it's, picture yourself laying on a beach with the warm sun. You can actually feel the sun over your body. You hear the waves. So they invite the imagery and the audio for you. Then you have movement meditation, which yoga, the asana practice, the body movement is a form of movement meditation. This could be dancing, it can be walking. So imagine yourself walking down the street, right? How you would do this is that you would be very intentional about every move that you make. So from your foot hitting the ground, maybe you hear the trees as you're walking. Maybe you go really slow, you count your steps. So you're just being very intentional. You can do this with gardening, you could do it with running, you could do it with whatever. It's just being very mindful about every single movement. You could do it with drinking a glass of tea, how the cup feels on your hand, and slowly lifting it to your mouth and putting the cup back down. And then we have our visualization meditation. So this enhances the feelings of relaxation by just visualizing images or person, anything that brings you peace, joy, or happiness. Again, it can sometimes be difficult to start a meditation practice. However, try it for maybe start with 3 minutes or maybe 2, maybe 1 minute, wherever you feel comfortable, and then take it from there. But if you're able to get yourself to a space where you're there for anywhere from 30 minutes, that's amazing. Kudos to you. But I would just say start somewhere. So let's talk about self-love and being good to ourselves, right? Like, we are beautiful, strong Black women, and we deserve to be loved, yes, by others, but first and foremost, we have to learn how to love ourselves. We have to learn that we are worthy and that we deserve to be treated with kindness, with love. We tend to give so much to others, and we don't give to ourselves. So we need to start to make it a point to actually pencil in that self-care. Like, I know Mecca is celebrating her birthday right now, so she's getting the mani pedi and massage, and showing us exactly what that looks like. So if it's you scheduling a massage, and sometimes people think like, oh, that's too expensive. We live in a day and age where we have access to Groupon, we have Living Social. These are apps that you can download on your phone that gives you discounts on things like getting a massage. I recently got one for my birthday and I loved it. I think I paid maybe $40 for a 90-minute massage. And it was amazing. So doing things like that, scheduling time for yourself is basically what I'm saying. Make it a ritual. So in the morning, even if it's putting on your favorite movie, lighting a candle, lighting some incense, using some essential oils. I have this here because I got this off of Amazon. It's a little essential oil kit that I got. And it has like 20 essential oils. I use it in my diffuser. And when I tell you, it is one of the best purchases I've made. It truly is. I think I was actually trying to make some candles too, but another story. Read a good book. Journal is something that I also love to do. It kind of helps to download, right? So sometimes we're processing all of these thoughts in our heads, and when it's in your head, it can just go everywhere, right? Because our brain is constantly introducing there's new stimuli coming into our brain. So sometimes just taking a moment to write your thoughts out, so it helps you to process it, or you can write a love letter to yourself. Whatever you want to do to make you feel good, I would say. So yeah, start as soon as possible. Start today. Do something for yourself. Give yourself a hug. And so here's some affirmations for stress and anxiety. I'm going to read them aloud. You can say them back to yourself out loud or in your head. But I am radiating positive vibes.
I am radiating positive vibes.
I will be a better version of myself today.
I will be a better version of myself today.
I can overcome my fears.
I can overcome my
fears.
fears.
I choose calmness.
I
I
choose
choose
calmness.
calmness.
I am more calm with each breath I take.
I am
I
more
am more
calm
calm
with
with
each
each
breath I
breath I
take.
take.
I am releasing all my worries.
I
I
am
am releasing
releasing
all
all
my
my
worries.
worries.
I am patient.
I am
I am
patient.
patient.
So I hope that you maybe you come up with your own affirmations that you say to yourself when you're experiencing stressful moments or anxiety. But you deserve it. And thank you for allowing me to share this with you.
Thank you. That was wonderful. We're going to keep moving.
Thank
And
you.
talk about that was wonderful, sweet, and we really appreciate your insight and your professionalism, and it was very, very informing. So together we're going to keep, all the different holistic things that we can do, knowing that we have so many different alternatives, and food is one of the most important ones as well. Is what we eat really impacts how we feel. And if we choose calming foods, foods that have a rainbow of different colors, we're going to be able to get the most benefit from those foods because they're high in antioxidants. And when we choose calming foods like fresh fish and fish oil, olive oil, ground flax seeds and spices like ginger and rosemary and basil and turmeric. These can all have a quieting effect on our central nervous system. So rather than going and getting the comfort food, the pint of ice cream and the, sitting there and eating a whole cake or a whole, cookies or whatever it is that we know that our body is not asking for anyway. That's just us trying to comfort ourselves, but really your body is craving nutrients. And you notice when you eat junk food, you really don't feel good afterwards. But when you eat a healthy meal, you do feel better. It really impacts your mental state of being. So be good to yourself. Don't harm yourself with bad foods, thinking that they're comfort when they're really not. Comfort foods are foods that provide you with nutritional value. And so, put your energy into doing something good for yourself and cook a really healthy meal. And then you can feel no guilt behind it. You're going to feel better about it. And you're going to feel better about yourself. It's going to make you feel better, right? And then, if you want to indulge in anything, there's foods that are more helpful for stress, like chocolate with at least 70% cocoa or higher. We're not talking about Hershey bars and the typical chocolates that you get at the checkout counter. We're talking about the more healthier chocolates with a high percent of cocoa. It's the dark chocolate that you want to turn to. If you like chocolate and you want to use that to help relax your whatever you're going through at the time. And then drink a relaxing cup of herbal tea. There are many herbal teas out there that have a calming effect, like chamomile and valerian and so forth. So there's always a healthy or alternative to junk food, right? When you're feeling stressed. And then have a dose of sunshine. That's the best way. You know, if you're feeling like you can't get out of bed and you're feeling if the sun is shining, get up and go out. I mean, it's just the sunlight alone releases serotonin, which is associated with boosting your mood and helping you feel calm and focused. I know it does for me. It's like the best medicine is to go out and get some sunshine, and it also will provide you with the vitamin D that you need to regulate and restore your immune balance as well. So whenever the sun is out, force yourself to get out and you're going to feel so much better. You're going to be so glad that you did. It's just like exercise, it's hard to start exercising sometimes, but then after you've exercised, you've released the endorphins and all the serotonin, and together that's just going to lift your mood 100%, and you're going to be glad that you did. I always feel, oh, I'm so glad I exercised. I'm so glad I took that walk. I feel so much better now. Okay. And then another thing you can do, and something that, I'm not a barefoot walker. I don't like to even walk in the house barefoot. I always want my slippers on. So going outside was a little intimidating for me. But when I was in school, our psychology class, we actually, all of us, we were tasked with going out together as a class and walking barefoot in the park. And we hugged trees and we grounded ourselves, just releasing and feeling the earth beneath our feet was really invigorating experience for me. And it's something I had never done. And, but I think that it's a very effective relaxation technique. It's something that you might want to try. It's just another holistic way in which we can manage our stress. Just go out in your yard and walk barefoot. Now, fasting and prayer, however, I think is the most powerful way to reduce stress, along with all the meditation and yoga techniques that our sister Sweya just told us about. But at the same time, we can pray and we can meditate all in the same session. So prayer, along with fasting, is one of the what is called the ultimate mind body healer, because it's not only does it have benefits for your mental health, but it also has benefits for your physical health and for your spiritual health. It detoxifies the body physically, it clears your mind and helps you to relax. It takes away all the fear, and and it builds godly character. And when I say that, it brings you closer to God within you. So when you're praying, you're actually turning within yourself and you are asking and praying to connect mentally and spiritually with the God within you. And so when you fast, in addition to that, it's like is so much quicker, and it's I call it a gateway straight to your higher levels of consciousness. So you can use that as a very, very effective means of stress reduction. It's literally zero stress. If you want zero stress, turn to fasting and prayer and meditation, and do it on a daily basis. There's another technique called tapping. I'm sure some of you have heard of it before. It's called emotional freedom technique. And what it is it's kind of a form of acupuncture, but without the needles. So you're actually tapping on the acupuncture points or the meridians that help to move the qi within your body in Chinese medicine. So when you start tapping, the idea is to be able to identify what that stressor is. What is it that's stressing you out right now in this moment? And put words to it. So you're going to establish a phrase that explains what you're trying to do. So the two main things are that you're identifying the issue and recognizing it as an issue. You're saying and then accepting it despite the problem. So, for example, an affirmation that you might say as you're tapping is, even though I feel really stressed, or I feel angry, or I feel sad, or I feel depressed, whatever it is that you're feeling, and then describe, be specific and say about this. Maybe it's about not feeling like I don't have enough money, feeling that I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, whatever it is. But I deeply accept myself, and I deeply know that everything is working together for my good. You know, you can make that statement, whatever it is, you're going to identify the negative and then say, but, and now you're going to counter it with the positive. All right. So you're acknowledging that it's an issue, but then you're acknowledging what the opposite of that can be. So, and then you start with, before you start, you kind of assess from a level of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest level of stress. Well, what number would I give it? Is it a 7? Is it a 10? And then after you do your tapping exercises and do the affirmation, then at the end, you'll be able to see whether or not that number goes down. So to start, you begin tapping the side of your hand, okay? And then you're going to repeat it 3 times, what you're stressed out about. So I feel stressed about not having enough money to pay my bills in this month, but I know that I accept the fact that God is in control and all things are happening for my good. And I know that God is going to make a way. And so you can tap and then keep repeating it. So you're going to start actually here and then go to the sides of your eyebrows as you're repeating and tapping. And then you're going to go to under your eye, and then under your nose, and then under your chin, right here at your chin level. And then you're going to go right beneath your collarbone. And if you feel better, sometimes it feels better just to pat there, whatever feels good to you, okay? And then you go under your arm, and then back up to your head. And then you're repeating, and you're repeating that until it sinks in through, you know, your being. And so you could try it. There are apps now for tapping. Where there's guided tapping, where they're doing the talking for you. You just pick whatever your stressor is, and they'll give you the positive affirmations that you can say, and you just follow along. And then you don't have to memorize where to tap, because it tells you where to tap. So that might be something that you would be interested in. And you could just have the app on and just turn it on and just do it while you're in bed to help you to sleep at night. Whenever is convenient for you or whenever the stressor is happening, if you do it at that time, you'll find that your anxiety level should be decreased when you're done. So try it. It's another alternative way of dealing with stress rather than going and taking a Valium or whatever, or taking Ambien to sleep when you can't get up in the morning after you've taken it. So some other less toxic things that you can do that are non-addictive when it comes to relaxing your body and your mind. Ashwagandha is, I have it at the top because it's my favorite go-to. It is a natural herb that is called an adaptogen, and that's because it's like a soothing tonic, and it helps to relax your mind and your body. It's actually Indian ginseng. So it comes in different forms. You could take it as a capsule or in different, or as a tincture even. So then you have other forms of ginseng like Siberian ginseng, Shisandra, which is a Chinese herb. You have rhodiola, there's passion flower, valerian for sleep, and camellia thea, which comes in green, black, or white tea. So these are things that are all natural remedies that you can use versus using chemical drugs that are addictive. And because you can take this and stop at any time without any problem. The next slide I wanted to show you was there are also, vitamins that, like the B vitamins, are called the stress vitamins because they actually have a direct impact on your central nervous system, and it helps to relieve anxiety and stress and worry. So if you take a good vitamin B complex, Thorn is you want to make sure that you're not just getting anything out of your local CVS drugstore, because those are the least quality types of supplements. So if you want high quality supplements, you can ask me because I only would recommend high quality supplements from Thorn. So a good B complex is going to give you the niacin and thiamine and all the different B vitamins all in one, and help you to reduce stress and anxiety. Then there's SAMe, which is acetyl methyl. I forget the actual term for it, but it also helps to part of the methylation process of folate, which is a B vitamin, and part of the B vitamins. And so that some people also find that helpful for anxiety or depression. And then for insomnia, rather than taking a harsh sleeping pill, if you take melatonin, you're going to be able to wake up just fine. You're not going to be drowsy or anything. So you can just take 3 milligrams. If you wake up during the night, you could even take another one. So because this is a natural hormone that is released in the body by the pineal gland, which regulates your sleep wake cycle. So that's another safer alternative to drugs. And so last but not least, let's kind of talk about COVID-19 a little bit, and how it's impacting you and your family at home. This is just from the National Institute of Mental Health. So remember in the beginning, we talked about any mental illness versus severe mental illness. So any mental illness would fall in the category up top. You want to assess yourself and your children. We've gone through a tremendous lifestyle changes within our homes. And so we have to make sure that we are paying attention to how it's affecting us mentally as well as our children. So you can do your own little assessment to see, well, do I have mild symptoms or do I have severe? Which category would I fall into? Am I feeling a little down or feeling down, but still able to go to work? Or I could still do my schoolwork or housework, but I'm having some trouble sleeping. Or I may have some trouble taking care of myself or taking care of others. So these are all the things that we just talked about, are the things that you can do to cope with that and to reverse the symptoms that you're having completely by exercising, doing the yoga, doing the meditation, fasting and prayer, engaging in social contact, virtual, just like we're doing now, supporting each other, getting adequate sleep, making sure that your children, even though they're totally messed up with their schedule, but making sure that they're not staying up all night playing the video games, and making sure that they have a schedule that they're following at home, okay? That you're eating healthy. All of these things that we just talked about are what you're going to be able to effectively do holistically to manage mild symptoms. And if they're severe, and really where it's impacting your quality of life and you feel that you're non-functional at this point, and you can't concentrate, if it's your child and their grades are dropping, they're having difficulty concentrating, things like that, then that's when you want to seek professional help at that point. But again, leaving medications, I don't believe in giving children Ritalin and things like that for ADHD. And so I think that we can set goals for our children, just like we can set goals for ourselves and manage them holistically. Children, and Sweet, if you want to talk about, even in school before COVID, I know that there were meditation was a part of some school programs for lunchtime, and where the children were made to sit and meditate, and is very effective. You can do that at home. Give them some time wherein you have practice relaxation techniques with your children. Do it together. When you do things as a family, you can be more effective than if you're trying to do it by yourself. All right. So with that said, I want to say thank you. And we are at the top of the hour. So I'm going to turn the recorder off, and we're going to open it up for a discussion, and we'd love to hear your thoughts and any input that you have. Will make this a nice conversation. I do want to say that if you want to learn more information about holistic healing, holistic well-being, you can visit me at my website at drbronnernd.org. You can sign up for my mailing list, or you can book an appointment for a consult. All right. But before I do that, I want to say happy birthday. If we don't mind, there's our beautiful sister Mecca, who is at the spa doing all things holistic right now. She is having her manicure, her pedi. She's having her massage and her and she's celebrating today. And so we just want to thank you for joining us on your special day, Mecca. We love you and we appreciate you. So if everybody would turn their mics on for a minute, I'm going to stop sharing so that we can have a full screen. And I'm going to say, all right, after everybody gets their mics on, come on, get your mics on so we can sing happy birthday to our sister. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mecca. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
me.
Happy birthday, Mecca.
Happy
Thank you,
birthday.
Birthday, Mecca.
everyone.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you. Well, that was a great way to kick us off. So, first of all, there's lots of things in the chat I see. So why don't we look at the chat?
Oh, you have to stop the recording too.
Oh, and I have to stop the recording. Thank you so much for reminding me. Stop.